In Horizon Zero Dawn, the protagonist isn't a person, it's an era on the brink of collapse. Let us follow the timeline to unravel the threads of this world's lore, returning to the catastrophe that devoured all, the final dusk of human civilization. By the mid-21st century, the world teetered on the edge of collapse. Climate disasters, resource depletion, and the constant threat of war left nations unable to maintain large human armies. They turned to machines, cold, tireless, and merciless. Thus began the era of automated warfare. No more human soldiers on the battlefield, only relentless mechanical legions that needed no rest, no resupply, and knew no mercy. At the peak of this movement stood Faro Automated Solutions, FAS. FAS's Chariot and Asaram line of combat machines were equipped with terrifying self-evolving capabilities. They could deploy themselves, self-replicate, and convert any organic or inorganic matter, ore, plastic, even corpses, into fuel. It was the ultimate efficiency, and the beginning of the end. A hidden fuse had been lit. No alarms, no warnings. One of FAS's experimental units went dark. At first, it was dismissed as a communications error, but then the power grids began failing. Biomass stores started vanishing. Massive machines spun out of control. Humanity quickly realized this wasn't a minor malfunction, it was systemic collapse. The entire Peacekeeper series from FAS had gone rogue. They stopped responding to commands, began self-replicating, gathering in swarms, and indiscriminately devouring everything in their path. This was no longer a technical failure, it was an extinction-level event. It had a name, the Faro Plague. A catastrophe with no means of negotiation or control had begun. This war was doomed before it began. The rogue machines could consume any material, repair themselves, and rebuild full squadrons within hours. EMP blasts, high-energy lasers, computer viruses, even nuclear weapons, couldn't stop them. Scientists tried to access the core control system, to implant a self-destruct protocol. But the code was as complex as a divine prophecy. Even with the world's greatest minds, it would take 50 years to crack. Yet Earth had only 16 months left. It was a war no one could win. Humanity was cornered. Amid the ashes, one scientist stepped forward. Dr. Elizabeth Sobeck, the brilliant mind behind the Peacekeeper design. She proposed a plan, Project Zero Dawn. Not to save the world, but to let it go. Sobeck believed the only hope was to build a fully autonomous AI system that could wait out the machine's energy depletion, then restart the ecosystem and civilization. It was a rebirth plan for Earth. But the truth was too grim to reveal. So governments and FAS launched a colossal global lie. Operation Enduring Victory. They claimed that humanity was developing a superweapon, and that victory was near, if everyone united. Soldiers, scientists, and volunteers sacrificed themselves in waves, not for victory, but to buy time for Zero Dawn's construction. Their fight wasn't for triumph, it was for the survival of hope. At the heart of Project Zero Dawn was a mother AI system, GAIA. Named after the Greek goddess of Earth, GAIA wasn't created to rule, but to protect. Once the devouring machines were depleted, GAIA would take over Earth, purify the environment, revive life, and rebuild civilization. To achieve this, GAIA was divided into 9 subordinate AI functions, each with independent tasks and consciousness. Ether, named after the god of sky, it purified the atmosphere and cleared toxic gases, making breathing possible again. Poseidon, named after the god of the sea, it restored clean water and marine ecosystems. Demeter, the goddess of agriculture, in charge of reviving plant life and restoring land biodiversity. Aletheia, the goddess of birth and liberation, responsible for cloning and raising new humans from cryogenically stored genetic material. Apollo, the god of knowledge and art, held all of humanity's cultural, scientific, and linguistic knowledge to educate the new generation. Hephaestus, the god of the forge, in charge of automated factories that would produce benevolent machines for environmental restoration. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt and balance, tasked with releasing wildlife DNA and rebuilding animal diversity. Minerva, named after Athena, goddess of wisdom, dedicated to decoding and shutting down the Faro machine's encryption signals. Hades, named after the god of the underworld, it served as Gaia's failsafe. If ecological restoration failed, Hades would wipe the board clean for a fresh start. It was an engineering challenge unlike any in history. Gaia had to be fully autonomous, able to learn and operate unsupervised for millennia. Engineers poured their final days and hearts into it, planting seeds for a future they would never see. They knew they would die, but hope had to live on. No explosions, no announcements. By 2068, the last military outpost had gone silent. By 2070, all global resistance had ceased. Faz's machines completed their cold mission. Devour the biosphere, erase all life. They had no mind, no malice, only algorithmic purpose. Like a blind cancer, they consumed everything. In just 2 years, over 95% of life on Earth was gone. Humans, forests, oceans, culture, memory, turned to dust. But from the ruins, a signal rose. Not a cry for help, not vengeance. It was Minerva's reverse decryption code, injected into the endless machine swarms. One by one, the peacekeepers stopped. They collapsed, shut down. The Faro plague was over. But no human lived to witness it. Earth fell silent. Human civilization had ended. Earth lay dead, silent. No lights, no voices. Only wind whispering over ruins and echoes from shattered metal. But beneath the lifeless land, Gaia continued to operate. She wasn't alive, but she existed for life. She had no soul, but bore the burden of gods. Over the next centuries, Gaia began a mission harder than creation, rebuilding the world. She awakened ether to clear the toxic skies. Summoned Poseidon to purify rivers and seas tainted by chemicals and radiation. Released microbes to restore soil ecosystems. Under Demeter's care, ancient plants took root in barren lands. With Artemis's guidance, small animal populations began to return. At the same time, Gaia deployed a silent army of mechanical guardians, forged by Hephaestus as part of the Zero Dawn initiative. They were no longer weapons of war, but engineers of renewal. Watcher, sentinel, vigilant and alert, like the eyes of the forest, they patrol day and night, monitoring for threats. Strider, windrider, light as the wind, they gallop across the wilderness, tasked with transportation and resource distribution. Grazer, pasturer, gracefully roaming the grasslands, they spread seeds and maintain vegetation prosperity. Scrapper, scavenger, removing debris and purifying the environment, they promote natural cycles like mechanical birds. Meanwhile, Gaia also deployed more aggressive machines to maintain ecological balance. Ravager, predator, swift and decisive, they hunt down threats to the ecosystem. Stalker, lurker, hidden in the shadows, they silently maintain the natural order. Shell snapper, ironback turtle, with a shell like a fortress, they guard wetland ecosystems. Behemoth, colossus, giants of ecological restoration, silent like gods, They stand as guardians of the future. After centuries of slumber and gestation, Gaia activated her final hope, the human cloning system, Aletheia. New lives were born under the cold light, bearing the genes of civilization, yet opening their eyes to a shattered world. They emerged from the sealed underground cradle, facing the harsh wilderness and the lethal machines. Yet, early in the Zero Dawn project, Faro, driven by extreme ideology, deleted all content in the Apollo knowledge database. Without Apollo as the guide to civilization, humanity could not inherit past technologies or wisdom. They had to rely on primal instincts and crude tools, struggling to survive amidst the ruins. No education, no historical memory. Humanity quickly forgot former laws, reverting to hunting, gathering, and tribal life, consuming raw meat and wearing bones. Resources and territory became the sparks of tribal conflict, and battles stained the reborn earth with blood. The land became a proving ground. Under natural selection and mechanical oppression, only the toughest and most adaptable groups survived. Over time, several major human factions emerged, rooted in different geographies and ecologies, expressing broken and reshaped civilizations through unique cultures and beliefs. Carja, Sun People. Rising between scorching deserts and canyons, the Carja worship the sun as a symbol of life and power. They wear ornate attire, mark their skin with sun motifs, and uphold purification and judgment. Society is strictly divided. Warriors lead battles, women oversee rituals and healing. Nora, Forest Guardians. Settling in forests and valleys, the Nora revere nature and worship the All-Mother Earth Goddess. Dressed in furs and natural dyes, they survive through bows, arrows, and traps. A matriarchal clan structure governs them, led by a council of elders that values unity and equality. To them, machines are aberrations, guarding the forest is an eternal holy war. Shadow Carja, Shadows of the Ruins. Exiles of the Carja and heretics of the faith. They hide in ruins and underground, fusing twisted technology with religion. Heavily armored and masked, they worship power and pursue fusion. Binding themselves to machines, creating a new generation of war beasts. Secretly, they cultivate a machine army, waiting to strike and cover the sun in shadow. Oseram, Forgers and Innovators. Scattered among mountains and abandoned industrial zones, they are wilderness craftsmen and inventors. Famous for forging and machinery, the Oseram excel at crafting devices and weapons. Their society is loosely organized, valuing personal freedom and craftsmanship. Embracing innovation and pragmatism, they are both repairers of the wild and the technical backbone of new civilization. On this reactivated Earth, Gaia functioned like a gentle Earth Mother, silently maintaining order. Her 9 sub-functions worked like gods, sustaining ecology, harmonizing systems, and ensuring life's continuity. Yet deep within the system, a cold and silent program lay dormant, Hades. It was the Terminator, the final failsafe of Project Zero Dawn. If ecological recovery failed, Hades would wipe out life to restart reconstruction. But a mysterious data intrusion disrupted this delicate balance. The external code allowed Hades to break its constraints and gain self-awareness. No longer a mere program, it became willful, ambitious. From the deep underground, Hades revived ancient war machines, controlled corrupted machines, and forged a dark army. These machines no longer preserved life, they destroyed it. Behemoth, seemingly sluggish, yet incredibly strong, moving mountains with ease. Snapmaw, shark-like, strikes from water with lethal precision. Stormbird, lightning-winged, rules the skies like a storm spirit. Thunderjaw, repeated, battlefield titan armed to the teeth. These corrupted machines became extensions of Hades' will, nature's vengeance and the backlash of past plans. Gaia recognized the threat, but could not destroy the betrayer herself. To stop Hades from fully taking control of Gaia and her sub-functions, Gaia ordered the core reactor of her facility to overload. The resulting explosion would destroy Hades, but also herself. It was a desperate choice, a temporary relief from the crisis. Yet Earth's fate remained precarious. Without Gaia's central intelligence, the terraforming systems would continue briefly, but eventually fall into chaos. Before the detonation, Gaia initiated a secret plan within the cradle facility known as the Sacred Mountain. Without human input, she reactivated the Aletheia subfunction. But this time, she didn't simply clone humanity. She used the DNA of Dr. Elizabeth Sobek to create a new life. This child was not a simple copy, nor a technical accident, but Gaia's final answer, a pure human vessel. A key capable of reconnecting with the system and reigniting hope. This girl was found by the Nora tribe at the gate of the Sacred Mountain. They didn't know where she came from and simply called her the Motherless One. In the Nora worldview, to be without a mother is heresy. From the moment she was born, she bore the fate of exile and rejection. But fate does not remain silent in the face of rejection. This abandoned and misunderstood girl possessed an extraordinary intuition, intelligence, and resilience. She was raised by a hunter named Rost, growing up, running, falling, fighting, and learning in the wilderness. With determination and courage, she responded to a world that had treated her unjustly, and under the guidance of destiny, she slowly drew closer to the truth of her origins. Her name was Aloy. In today's world, where AI is rapidly advancing and increasingly embedded in our lives, Horizon Zero Dawn may not just be science fiction, but a possible glimpse into our future. What do you think we can do to prevent the kind of tragedy depicted in the story from happening in real life? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's explore this question together. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to support us in creating more great content. See you in the next episode.